Hello, my name is Barbara Cohen. I'm the CIO of Shadow Traders. This morning I'm going to show you what happened. This is Friday morning, 7/24/2009. I'm going to show you just exactly what happened as we were trading with our new system. This is a combination of using pivots and fractals. This is fractal geometry. It's a kind of new invention. We've been working on it for quite some time. It gives, we've had to include a great deal of logic as well as a lot of fuzzy logic is what we've put into this now. As with any other system, is it 100%? No. And if somebody tells you that their system is 100%, run the other way because that would just be nonsense. But we're getting excellent results. I think you're going to see it. Now this is, again, this is Friday morning's data. And we're just putting them out as we are making them so you can get a good idea of how this thing works. So right now what's happening is we're sitting on our pivot. You can see it hasn't penetrated that pivot yet. We just got a a real-time call right here, as well as a star. Now when you get a red star that says, listen, that's the bottom, that's the low for the fractal geometry. Right there's your low, and here's your go button. What we know is it's going to have difficulty penetrating the pivot right here, and it won't go below that star. We know that. We're using, if you notice, this is a 3-minute chart. Works really well on 3-minute charts. Why are we using 3 minutes? Because we're going for points. We're not necessarily going to just scalp here. Could we scalp? Well, sure, you can go for 2 ticks and get out. But we're really going to try for some points here. And if I use the 3-minute chart, I do pretty well on going for points. When I use the 1-minute chart, I'm going to be more interested in scalping. So you can use it for whichever you want, 1 minute, 3 minute. And we've got it working now on the ES, the S&P 500, the Dow, the mini Dow, the NASDAQ, the mini crude, the CL, the treasury bonds, the ZB and the ZN. We have it on the DAX. We have it on the German bond, the Bund, FGBL. So you name it, these are the ones that are being traded heavily, and we're ready to rock and roll on them. And you can see it never penetrated back down through that star. Couldn't go lower, and it's starting to take off now. Let me explain to you something about these lines here. These are our fractal rays. You can see, now if you just take a look at what happened earlier this morning while we're waiting for this thing to take off. Notice it's hit another pivot here. It's hit another pivot. It's having a little bit of difficulty penetrating. Sometimes it just takes a little while for them to get through that pivot. You'll see it'll take a little while, a couple of times, and eventually they'll get through it. When we were getting a trade, and that's with an arrow as well as a diamond, generally they're going to get through a pivot because we're talking about momentum. If there's no momentum, they're not going to get through it, that's for sure. So while we're waiting for that to go through, let's just look and see what happened. This is our pre-market, as we know. This is like 8 o'clock in the morning. You can see we had the diamonds coming in early this morning, and we went star to star. If you go from, this is the low, the red is the low, the green is the high. We're going from low to high. From high all the way down here to low, low to high, high to low. This one was actually a low and a high all together. This one, and then took off, went to another high, and now we're on the current low. Now, do you always get a low and a high? It's it's almost always. You probably are looking at 90% of the time you're going to get a low and a high. Once in a while you're going to get stopped out. We're going to tell you that. There's no guarantee you're always going to get a low and a high. If you got a low and a high every time, that's all you'd ever have to trade was low, high, low, high, low, high. Chances are you're going to get it. Now, here it comes. Look, we just hit a high. You can see the high here. We just hit a high on that. So now we know this is it. That's all you're going to get out of the trade. Time to exit because it's not going higher. And look, you're talking about almost 4 points on that trade in just like 12 minutes. So you can't complain too fiercely. This is a 3-minute chart. And you can see we're falling back down from that high. What else did we run into? We ran into that pivot. Couldn't penetrate that pivot. Could not get through it. Additionally, notice that the fractal array is coming out too. It's telling us, look, we're coming down. We're going to come down. So we spotted your low. We had your low. We knew exactly where it was. It stopped on a pivot, and it went up to the next pivot. Coming right back down. We'll see how far down it goes, and we're going to wait until we get to the next low before we can go long again. You'll see here, notice we have a dark green fractal, and we have a turquoise fractal. What those are, this one here is a breakout fractal. They're just showing you, look, we went from here to here. This is a breakout. As you can see, we broke out nicely. This is a support and resistance fractal. So you're getting both. We're looking at both activities here. We're looking at both the geometry connected to a support and resistance, which is what we're running into right now. We're running into resistance here. Into support, excuse me. We're running into support right now, and we're looking for breakouts. So we're looking for two things. That's what the fractals are going to give us. And the pivots are going to tell us where the market's going to stop. And they're going to tell us that in advance, right? Because pivots are leading indicators. They're telling you where in advance you can expect to get some support and resistance issues. Notice that we just hit another low right there. There's your low. There's your low. And notice it's bouncing right off that low. Cannot get through the pivot and doesn't want to go through that low. And that's what we're seeing with fractals and with pivots. When you do both, you get the knowledge of where the market goes to, how it stops, and you got to understand something here. These are pivots that are belonging to the institutions. This is what they're using in their own automated trading programs. So they're not going to change for you. Let me tell you, they could care less about you. They're all set up for these pivots. They know exactly where they're going to change. Notice that we bounced off that low. We hit it. There's your high. There's another high and another carrot that says, hey, look, we're going to come right back down. Look at us come back down. Why? Because we couldn't get through that pivot, and that's a lower high for us. That's a lower high for us, and we're coming back down. And this happened, as you see, Friday morning. We're not editing these tapes. This is just a replay of what exactly happened this morning, and that's what we're finding. We're going low to high, low to high, low to high, and that's the intricacies of the fractal geometry. And we're going to come out with yet even another release. We're working on it right as we speak, where we're adding a bit of more fuzzy logic to it, saying we believe that this will be the high, or this will be the low. We believe it, And then when it actually happens and confirms, then we'll have a different, we'll have a different indicator. So we're actually going to add more to it. Notice that we've just hit another low. And now we're getting another one of our indicators telling us, no, they're going to go back up. So we have two confirmations here. And we're sitting at this pivot. Couldn't penetrate the pivot. Couldn't penetrate the low. And got another indication that the market's coming back up. So we have several indications here during the course of the day. And having that makes trading so much easier. You're going to want to watch this.